Hello, my name's Sister Lizzie Ruth. I am Anglican and I'm a member of the community of St Mary the Virgin in Wantage. Little update for you, I've now been exploring religious life for just over 7 years and I've been with this community for about 5.5 years now. I'm now a sister under promise, which in other communities might be called simple profession or first vows. So it's a bit like the equivalent of engagement before marriage, or if you like, it's the stage between being a novice and making life vows. And I've still got another 3 or so years within which I need to make the discernment of whether I feel God's calling me and whether my community feel God's calling me to go ahead to make life vows with this community. So that's where I'm at the moment. And actually, just in a few days' time, just like I've mentioned on this channel, there are conferences nationally for the novices, the Anglican novices, to get together. There are also conferences for those of us who are first professed to get together. So just next week, I'm going to be spending a few days with others who are at the same stage as me, and we've been on this journey together for a few years now, and actually I think 1 or 2 of them are now looking at making life vows within the next year or so. So that's all very exciting, what God's up to. The main reason I'm making this video, as well as giving you that little update, is for a while now I've been really wanting to just make a video to show you around what I think are the most helpful parts of the internet for exploring Anglican religious life. So I'll just spend a few minutes showing you around those in the hope that that's really helpful to you. You might remember that when I was living in Leicester, I showed you this Anglican religious life yearbook that had information about all the different Anglican religious communities in it. This is no longer sold in book form, as it's now gone all online. So to find it online, just do an internet search for Anglican Religious Life Yearbook. On the main page, if you scroll down, you'll see the word directory. And if you click on directory, you'll then get to this page. I'm aware that there may well be words on this page that you're not familiar with, so I'll just very quickly try to explain them to you a bit. On the section 2 square, you'll see the word dispersed. Dispersed just means kind of the opposite of communal living, as in residential communal living. So most people in religious life live together with others in a convent or a monastery or a retreat house or a ministry house of some description. But a dispersed community is when every member of the community lives on their own, scattered across the country or around the world, and they're joined to each other as a community by living to the same rule and using the same prayers and perhaps meeting up a few times a year. So that explains the word dispersed. 2 other words just to help you understand a bit better. If you look at the section 1 and the section 3 squares, you'll see the 2 words recognised and acknowledged. These 2 words are used to make a very important distinction between 2 different broad categories of religious life. The category that I belong to, and that this whole channel is about predominantly, is referred to as recognised community, or it's sometimes described as traditional religious life. And the word traditional doesn't mean old-fashioned, it just means that we live by the traditional definition of religious life. So in a nutshell, that simply means 2 things: that poverty, celibacy, and obedience are central to our life, and that we make a life vow. So there are lots of Anglican communities that belong to this category, and although we're very different from each other, these 2 things are what we all have in common. and they're what make us a recognised community or part of traditional religious life. Anglican religious life is now branching into different forms. For example, there are newer communities where maybe the members can be married or stay in their homes with their jobs, or where the membership is more flexible or temporary. So if there's a religious community that doesn't tick both of those two boxes, instead of being called a recognised community, it's called an acknowledged community to make that distinction. So someone might explore being part of an acknowledged community if they do feel drawn to be connected to religious life, but not to full religious life, as it were. Something I'd like to add here is that although this might seem like a fresh idea, and especially because quite a few of these communities are newer, the concept of being part of religious life but staying in your marriage or your job or your home has actually been around for centuries. For example, you may have heard of the Third Order Franciscans. And something similar to the Third Order Franciscans, but in relation to other orders, is being an oblate. And many of the recognised communities will offer oblate membership, where you're an extended member of that religious community and you share in something of their rule of life and their prayer life, and you have a very close connection with the brothers and sisters. You're part of their extended family, but at the same time you stay within your marriage or your family context or your job context. So if this kind of connection with religious life interests you, as well as looking at acknowledged community websites, you might also look at the oblate sections of recognised religious community websites. If we go back to this main page here, let's say you feel that maybe God's calling you to a recognised community. If you click on recognised community, you're now going to find yourself here with these filters. Personally, I'd advise caution with the filters, and especially the ministry filter, because a lot of communities don't fit neatly under one label. Personally, I'd advise only using the gender filter and the location filter, and then just enjoy having a look at everything that then comes up. So that is the main directory called the Anglican Religious Life Yearbook, and that has every Anglican religious community around the world. The other resource that I'd love to draw your attention to is the Anglican Religious Life Project. And like this YouTube channel, that's been set up to help you explore Anglican religious life. The Anglican Religious Life Project has a website that has all kinds of really helpful information. One thing I'd just point out is that whereas the yearbook website mentions every single community equally, because it's more like a directory, on the project website, you might just naturally see more of some communities and less of others. So in case God's calling you to a community that isn't so prominent on the project website, I'd suggest that you look at both the yearbook website and the project website hand in hand. As well as the website, the Anglican Religious Life Project also has an X feed, which you can find at Monk Nun Anglican. And on there you'll find that there's a prayer cycle posted on the feed, so that together we pray for different Anglican religious communities around the world each day. And quite regularly they post news of upcoming events, whether over Zoom or in real life, where people can learn more about religious life by meeting those who are already in it. Some of these events are collaborations between communities, and sometimes something is hosted by an individual community. For example, in the summer, the brothers at Murfield hosted a monastic taster week. And from time to time, my own community is putting on a Zoom event for anyone who'd like to meet some of our sisters and find out more about our community in particular. In fact, we're hosting one in a few weeks' time, so if that's something that interests you, I'll put the link in the description box below. So I hope all of that is helpful to you and makes sense.
Happy exploring!